The massive screen in the Galactic Council chamber showed a small blue planet, spinning slowly in the darkness of space. Commander Vexitar stood before the assembly of alien leaders, his scaled hands pointing at the world they called Terra 3. "This world has everything we need," Vexitar said in his deep voice. "Water covers most of the surface. The air is perfect for breathing. The soil is rich for farming. And look at these creatures that live there." The screen changed to show images of humans walking through cities, working in fields, and flying in primitive aircraft. The alien leaders leaned forward in their seats, studying the footage with interest. "They call themselves humans," Vexitar continued. "Our scouts have watched them for months. They are weak. They fight each other constantly. They have no united government. Their weapons are simple metal tubes that shoot small pieces of metal. Their flying machines barely leave their atmosphere." A tall, thin alien with 4 arms raised one hand. "How many of them are there?" "About 8 billion, Vexitar replied. "But they are spread across the entire planet. They speak hundreds of different languages. They worship different gods. They cannot work together even when facing natural disasters." Another alien, this one with purple skin and large eyes, spoke up. "What about their defenses?" Vexitar laughed, a sound like grinding metal. "They have no real space fleet, a few tiny stations orbiting their world, some satellites for communication. Their most advanced weapons are explosive devices that they drop from aircraft. They are at least 500 years behind our technology." The leader of the Galactic Council, an ancient being called the High Chancellor, nodded slowly. "This world would give us control of the entire Outer Rim sector. The hyperspace routes that pass near it are valuable for trade." "Exactly," Vexitar said. "And the humans would make excellent workers. They are strong enough for manual labor but too primitive to cause trouble. We can keep the useful ones and remove the rest." The council members talked among themselves in various alien languages. After an hour of discussion, they reached their decision. "The council approves this annexation," the High Chancellor announced. "You may proceed with standard conquest protocol. How long do you estimate this will take?" Vexitar smiled, showing rows of sharp teeth. 2 weeks at most. Once they see our ships, they will surrender immediately. No species this primitive has ever resisted us for more than a few days." Meanwhile, on the small blue planet, Dr. Sarah Chen was working the night shift at the Arecibo Observatory in Puerto Rico. She had been tracking unusual signals from deep space for the past week. The readings made no sense according to everything she knew about astronomy. "Maria, come look at this," she called to her colleague. "These energy signatures are getting stronger." Maria Rodriguez rolled her chair over to Sarah's computer screen. The display showed massive spikes in electromagnetic activity moving toward their solar system. "Could it be a solar storm?" Maria asked. "No." Sarah shook her head. "Solar storms don't move in formation, and they don't slow down and speed up like these signals are doing. Look at this pattern." On the screen, dozens of energy sources were moving in perfect coordination. They had been traveling at incredible speeds, but now they were slowing down as they approached the outer planets. "You don't think," Maria started to say, then stopped. "I think we need to contact Dr. Bhatti immediately," Sarah said. She was referring to Dr. Rajesh Bhatti, a quantum physicist who consulted for multiple space agencies around the world. "And we need to alert NASA, ESA, and every other space program on the planet." Within hours, observatories across the Earth were confirming the same readings. Something was approaching their solar system, and it was not natural. In Geneva, world leaders gathered for an emergency session. Presidents, prime ministers, and kings sat around a massive table, listening to reports from their top scientists. "The objects will reach Earth's orbit in 72 hours, announced Dr. James Wilson from NASA. "We count at least 200 separate energy signatures, each one larger than anything we have ever seen." The President of the United States leaned forward. "Could they be meteors? Some kind of space debris?" "No, sir," Dr. Wilson replied. "They are clearly under intelligent control. They adjust their speed and direction. They are arranged in what can only be described as military formations." The room fell silent. Everyone understood what this meant, even though no one wanted to say it out loud. The Prime Minister of India spoke first. So we are about to make first contact with an alien civilization. And they are bringing a fleet, added the President of China. High above the Earth, the first Zephyrian scout ships dropped out of hyperspace. Commander Vexistar stood on the bridge of his flagship, looking down at the blue world below. His sensors showed him cities full of billions of humans, completely unaware of what was about to happen. Begin broadcasting the surrender demand, he ordered. Use all their primitive communication frequencies. Across the Earth, every radio, television, and internet connection suddenly carried the same message. The voice was mechanical, speaking in broken English, Chinese, Spanish, and dozens of other human languages. Attention humans of Terra 3, you are now subjects of the Galactic Council. Your world belongs to us. You have 72 hours to surrender completely. All military forces must lay down their weapons. All leaders must report to designated collection points. Resistance will result in the destruction of your cities. Compliance will result in your preservation as a labor force. You have been warned. The message repeated in every language, broadcast from massive alien ships that had appeared in Earth's sky like dark clouds blocking out the sun. In the emergency meeting in Geneva, panic filled the room. Some leaders wanted to surrender immediately. Others demanded that they fight. Arguments broke out as the clock ticked toward the deadline. Dr. Bhatti, who had been called in as an advisor, finally stood up and spoke. They made a mistake, he said quietly. Everyone turned to look at him. What do you mean? Asked the Secretary General of the United Nations. They gave us 72 hours, Dr. Bhatti explained. If they were as advanced as they claim, they would have just attacked immediately. The fact that they want us to surrender means they either want to avoid a fight or they want to preserve something on our world. The British Prime Minister shook her head. But Dr. Bhatti, look at their ships. We have nothing that can fight against technology like that. Dr. Bhatti walked to the window and looked up at the alien vessels hanging in the sky above Geneva. They were enormous, easily the size of cities, and their dark metal hulls seemed to absorb light. Perhaps, he said, but they don't understand what they are dealing with. They see our divided nations and think we are weak. They see our simple weapons and think we cannot fight. They have studied us like animals in a zoo, but they have missed the most important thing about humanity. What's that? Asked the German. Chancellor Dr. Bhatti turned back to face the room. We have spent our entire history learning how to kill each other efficiently. Every war, every conflict, every battle has taught us something new about fighting and surviving. We may not have their technology, but we have something they clearly lack. What? Experience. The 72-hour deadline passed. The response from Earth was broadcast on all frequencies in every human language, spoken by a child from each continent. Come and take it. The alien attack began at exactly midnight, Earth time. Commander Vextar had chosen the moment carefully. He wanted the humans to be asleep when their world ended. The first plasma beams struck the Pentagon, the Kremlin, and other major military centers around the world. Buildings that had stood for decades vanished in flashes of green light. The Zephyrian commander watched from his ship as explosions lit up the night side of the planet. Target the communication centers next, he ordered. Cut off their ability to coordinate. More beams lanced down from the alien fleet. Television stations, radio towers, and internet hubs disappeared in brilliant flares. The aliens expected chaos and panic to spread across the human population. Instead, something else happened. Within minutes of the first attack, humans began responding. Not with surrender or panic, but with action. Military bases that had been destroyed were already sending out emergency signals. Backup communication systems came online. Hidden bunkers opened their doors and began broadcasting instructions. Sir, one of Vextar's officers reported, the humans are not behaving as expected. Instead of fleeing, they are gathering in groups. They appear to be organizing some form of resistance. Vextar looked at his screen in confusion. In every city, his forces had attacked. Humans were moving with purpose. Police officers were directing civilians to safe areas. Soldiers were taking positions in buildings. Even ordinary citizens were picking up weapons and joining organized groups. This makes no sense, Vexitar muttered. Every other species flees when we attack. Why are these primitives moving toward the fighting? In New York City, Police Captain Mike Torres was leading a group of officers through the rubble of what had been the United Nations building. The massive structure was now just a smoking crater, but Torres had more important things to worry about. Listen up, he shouted to the 50 people following him. We've got reports of alien ground forces landing in Central Park. I know this sounds crazy, but we're going to go take a look at their equipment. Captain, called out Sergeant Lisa Park, shouldn't we be evacuating civilians? The civilians are handling that themselves, Torres replied. Look around. Have you ever seen New Yorkers this organized? Everyone knows what to do. The cab drivers are moving people out of the danger zones. The construction workers are setting up barriers. Even the hot dog vendors are distributing food to the emergency workers. He was right. Across the city, millions of people were working together like parts of a giant machine. Traffic was moving smoothly as everyone followed the emergency plans that had been drilled into them since childhood. Schools had become shelters. Hospitals had activated their disaster protocols. The subway system had become an underground highway for moving supplies and people. In London, similar scenes were playing out. British soldiers were studying pieces of alien metal that had fallen from destroyed spacecraft. Instead of running away from the wreckage, engineers and scientists were rushing toward it. Dr. Emma Watson, a materials scientist, was examining a fragment of alien hull plating with a portable scanner. This is fascinating, she said to the Army colonel standing beside her. The molecular structure is completely different from anything we use, but the engineering principles are the same. Force distribution, heat dissipation, energy absorption. We can understand this. Can we copy it? Asked Colonel Harris. Give me a week in a proper laboratory, Dr. Watson replied. I think we can do better than copy it. I think we can improve it. The same conversation was happening in laboratories around the world. Human scientists and engineers were looking at alien technology not with fear, but with curiosity. They saw puzzles to be solved, systems to be understood, and weapons to be reversed. In the hidden facility beneath the Himalayas, Dr. Rajesh Bhatti was coordinating with researchers on every continent. The aliens had destroyed many communication systems, but they had not understood how deeply connected human society had become. Internet cables ran under oceans. Satellite systems had backup satellites. Radio networks had backup radio networks. The aliens are using quantum entanglement for their communications, Dr. Bhatti explained to a video conference of scientists from 12 countries. But they're using it in a very simple way, like using a supercomputer to add 2 plus 2. If we can build interference generators, we might be able to disrupt their coordination. Dr. Chen from the Arecibo Observatory, now working from a backup facility, raised her hand on the screen. What about their weapons? Can we defend against the plasma beams? Not directly, Dr. Bhatti admitted, but we don't need to. Look at what happened in London. The aliens destroyed the Tower Bridge, but within 4 hours, British engineers had built a temporary crossing using materials from a construction site. We don't need to stop them from destroying our buildings. We need to make our buildings irrelevant. In Tokyo, this philosophy was already being put into practice. When the aliens destroyed the main government buildings, the Japanese officials simply moved their operations to the extensive subway system. The underground networks that had been built for earthquakes and disasters now served as a hidden city beneath the surface. Commander Vexitar was receiving reports from his ground forces, and none of them made sense. His troops had landed in what should have been easy targets, but they were facing organized resistance everywhere. The humans have somehow moved their entire military underground, reported Captain Zex from the landing site in Central Park. When we destroyed their surface installations, identical facilities appeared in hidden locations. It is as if they expected this attack. That's impossible, Vexitar replied. Our intelligence showed they were completely unprepared for warfare on this scale. Sir, I think our intelligence was wrong. These humans fight like they have been preparing for this war their entire lives. Vexitar switched to another communication channel. Commander Thek, report from the European continent. Sir, the human resistance is unlike anything we have encountered. They are not trying to defend fixed positions. Instead, they are studying our equipment and tactics. Every time we deploy a new weapon, they find a way to counter it within hours. Hours? Vexitar was incredulous. It takes most species years to understand our technology. Yes, sir. And sir, there's something else. The humans are not just defending. They are learning to attack us. In the last 6 hours, we have lost 12 scouts and 4 assault craft to human weapons that did not exist yesterday. Vexitar looked down at the blue planet, its surface now dotted with the lights of fires and explosions. But those lights were not just destruction. They were also factories working around the clock, laboratories analyzing alien technology, and command centers coordinating a global defense. For the first time since the invasion began, Commander Vexitar felt a small flutter of doubt. His officers were reporting casualties. His equipment was being studied and copied by the enemy. And instead of surrender, he was seeing more resistance every hour. In an underground bunker in Colorado, General Patricia Morrison was speaking with military leaders around the world. On her screen were faces from every continent, all of them, showing the same expression of grim determination. "Ladies and gentlemen," she said, "we have been fighting this war for 18 hours. I want status reports from each theater." One by one, the reports came in. Casualties were high, but not as high as expected. The aliens were powerful, but they were also predictable. And most importantly, human forces were adapting faster than anyone had thought possible. "The aliens made a fundamental error, General," Morrison concluded. "They assumed that because we fight each other, we don't know how to fight together. They were wrong. Every human conflict has been training for this moment. Every war game, every military exercise, every tactical manual has been preparing us to fight an enemy with superior technology." She paused, looking at each face on the screen. "They wanted to conquer Earth in 2 weeks. I think it's time we showed them what humans do when someone threatens our home." Above them, the alien fleet continued its bombardment, confident that victory was only a matter of time. But down in the tunnels and bunkers, in the hidden laboratories and makeshift factories, 8 billion humans were proving that evolution's greatest gift to their species was not intelligence or strength, but the stubborn refusal to give up. 3 months after the first alien attack, Commander Vexitar stood in his war room staring at reports that made no sense. The conquest of Earth should have been finished in 2 weeks. Instead, his forces were fighting a war that seemed to grow, more difficult every day. "Show me the casualty reports again," he ordered his aide. The holographic display filled with numbers that told a story Vexitar didn't want to believe. In the first month, he had lost only a few dozen spacecraft. In the second month, the number had jumped to over 200. In the third month, he had lost more ships than in the previous 5 conquests combined. "How is this possible?" Vexitar demanded. "These humans were using metal projectiles when we arrived. Now they are destroying our most advanced fighters." His intelligence officer, a thin alien with 6 eyes, stepped forward nervously. "Sir, we have discovered the source of the problem. The humans have been reverse engineering our technology." "That's impossible. Reverse engineering takes decades, even for advanced species. Not for humans, sir." The intelligence officer activated another display. "Watch this surveillance footage from one of their underground facilities." The screen showed a vast cavern, filled with human workers. They had taken a crashed Zephyrian fighter and completely disassembled it. Teams of humans surrounded each component, studying it with instruments, taking measurements, and making detailed drawings. "This footage is from 6 weeks ago," the intelligence officer explained. "Now watch what they were doing yesterday." The scene changed to show the same cavern, but now, instead of studying alien parts, the humans were building something new. It looked similar to Zephyrian technology, but with subtle differences that made Vexitar's skin crawl. "They are not just copying our designs," the intelligence officer continued. "They are improving them. That fighter you see them building has 23% better energy efficiency than our standard model. The weapons have a 15% faster firing rate. The shields recharge 30% quicker." Vexitar felt something he had never experienced in a conquest before: fear. In the underground facility beneath the Himalayas, Dr. Bhatti was working with a team that had grown from a dozen scientists to over 3,000. Representatives from every nation on Earth worked side by side, sharing knowledge and resources in ways that would have been impossible before the invasion. The key breakthrough came from understanding their power source, Dr. Bhatti explained to a group of engineers from Germany, Japan, and Brazil. They use zero-point energy extraction, but their method is incredibly wasteful. We can build generators that produce 3 times as much power using the same principles. Dr. Lisa Chang, a nuclear physicist from Beijing, raised her hand. What about the materials? We can't produce their hull metals. Actually, we can do better, replied Dr. Yuki Tanaka from Tokyo. Our new carbon titanium composite is lighter than their hull material and just as strong. Plus, it's easier to manufacture using our existing facilities. Around the world, similar conversations were happening in hidden factories and laboratories. Humans had taken alien technology and done what they did best. They had made it better, cheaper, and easier to produce. The first human-built spacecraft rolled out of a converted automobile factory in Detroit. It looked nothing like human designs from before the war. The hull was smooth and angular, covered in the same type of energy-absorbing material the aliens used. But inside, it was purely human engineering. She's beautiful, said Captain Sarah Martinez, the test pilot who would fly humanity's first alien tech fighter. What are we calling her? The Defiance, replied the chief engineer. And she's just the first. We've got production lines starting up in 27 countries. By next month, we'll be building 50 of these per day. Captain Martinez climbed into the cockpit and ran through the pre-flight checklist. The controls felt familiar despite the advanced technology. Human engineers had made sure that their new weapons could be operated by pilots trained on conventional aircraft. Defiance 1 to ground control, she said into her radio. All systems green. Request. Permission for first test flight. Permission granted, Defiance 1. Give them hell. The spacecraft lifted off silently, its alien-derived engines producing no visible exhaust. Captain Martinez felt the incredible acceleration as the ship shot up through the atmosphere and into space. Within minutes, she was looking down at Earth. From orbit. Ground control, this is Defiance 1. The view up here is amazing and I can see our targets. 3 Zephyrian patrol ships were cruising above the Pacific Ocean, confident in their superiority. They had been bombing human cities for months without any real opposition. They did not expect to encounter a human spacecraft that could match their performance. Engaging the enemy, Captain Martinez announced. She armed the weapon systems that Dr. Bhatti's team had designed. They were based on alien plasma technology, but improved with human engineering tricks. The first shot from the Defiance struck a Zephyrian ship in the engine section. The alien vessel exploded in a ball of green fire. The other 2 ships immediately turned to face this new threat, but they were too slow. Captain Martinez's second shot disabled another alien ship. The third shot destroyed it completely. The remaining Zephyrian vessel tried to flee, but the human-built fighter was faster and more maneuverable. 3 targets eliminated, Captain Martinez reported. Defiance 1 returning to base. Commander Vexistar received the report of the engagement within minutes. For the first time in the war, human forces had achieved air superiority in a battle. It was a small engagement, but it represented something terrifying. The humans were no longer just defending, they were attacking. Sir, his aide reported, we are also receiving disturbing intelligence from other fronts. Human ground forces are now using weapons based on our plasma technology. Their new armor can withstand our standard infantry weapons. And sir, what? They have somehow recruited several species from worlds we have previously conquered. Alien. Defectors are working with the humans, teaching them our tactics and providing intelligence about our forces. This was the most shocking news yet. In hundreds of conquests, no species had ever convinced their previous victims to join them. But humans had somehow accomplished exactly that. In a hidden base in the Australian outback, Dr. Bhatti was meeting with representatives from 3 different alien species. They were refugees from worlds that the Zephyrians had conquered decades earlier. Your resistance gives us hope, said Cathara, a tall, blue-skinned alien whose people had been enslaved 40 years ago. No species has ever fought the Galactic Council to a standstill before. We are not fighting to a standstill, Dr. Bhatti replied. We are fighting to win. But we need your help to understand their weaknesses. Cathara showed the humans a holographic map of Zephyrian space. Their empire is vast, but it has one critical flaw. They rely completely on fear and superior technology. They have never faced an enemy that could match their capabilities. What happens when they do? Asked General Morrison. Another alien, a creature that looked like a giant insect, spoke up. They panic. Their entire military doctrine is based on overwhelming force against inferior opponents. They have no experience with prolonged warfare against equals. Dr. Bhatti studied the star maps and fleet positions. An idea was forming in his mind, but it was so audacious that he almost didn't dare voice it. What if we don't wait for them to send more ships? He said slowly. What if we take the fight to them? The room fell silent. Everyone understood what he was suggesting. Instead of defending Earth, humanity would launch an offensive against alien worlds. It's insane, General Morrison said. We've been fighting for 3 months. They've been conquering space for thousands of years. Exactly, Dr. Bhatti replied. They've been conquering primitive species for thousands of years. They have no idea how to fight us. Cathara looked at the human with something like admiration. You would actually attack the Galactic Council directly? Why not? Dr. Bhatti asked. They brought this war to us. It's time we returned the favor. Above them, the alien fleet continued its bombardment of Earth's surface. But deep underground, in factories and laboratories around the world, humanity was preparing to do something no conquered species had ever done before. They were going to fight back. 1 year after the invasion began, the war had changed completely. Commander Vextar no longer stood confidently in his command center. Instead, he paced nervously, reading reports that spoke of defeats and disasters across multiple star systems. Sir, we have lost contact with the supply convoy from Kepler 442, his communications officer reported. The last transmission indicated they were under attack by human forces. Human forces? Vextar could barely believe what he was hearing. How are humans attacking our supply lines? They should still be trapped on their planet. His intelligence officer activated a holographic display showing the outer rim of the galaxy. Red markers indicated areas where Zephyrian forces had been attacked in the past month. There were dozens of them, scattered across 6 different star systems. The humans have somehow acquired faster-than-light travel, the intelligence officer explained. Not only that, but their ships are superior to ours in speed and firepower. They appear overnight, destroy our forces, and vanish before reinforcements can arrive. The hologram zoomed in on one of the attack sites. Floating in space were the remains of what had been a Zephyrian battlecruiser. The massive ship had been torn apart by weapons that left distinctive energy signatures. These are our own plasma cannons, Vextar observed. But the power output is impossible. How are they generating so much energy? We don't know, sir. Every time we capture one of their weapons for study, they are using a completely new design. They seem to be improving their technology faster than we can analyze it. In the hidden facility beneath the Himalayas, Dr. Bhatti was coordinating humanity's first interstellar military campaign. The room that had once housed a dozen scientists now contained holographic displays, showing the positions of human fleets across the galaxy. Strike Team Alpha is in position near the Zeta Reticuli system, reported Captain Martinez, who now commanded a squadron of 20 human-built starships. We've located the Zephyrian fuel depot. It's heavily defended, but we think we can take it. Remember, this is a hit-and-run operation, Dr. Bhatti reminded her. Destroy the facility and withdraw immediately. We're not ready for a prolonged engagement with their main fleet. Understood, sir. Beginning attack run now. On the display, Dr. Bhatti watched as human ships swept down on the alien fuel depot. The battle was over in minutes. The humans had learned to fight like sharks, striking fast and hard before disappearing into the void. Target destroyed, Captain Martinez reported. No human casualties. We're jumping to hyperspace now. Dr. Bhatti smiled. A year ago, humanity had been using rockets to reach their own moon. Now they were conducting military operations across multiple star systems. It was the fastest technological advancement in the history of any species. Dr. Bhatti called Dr. Chen from her communication station. We're receiving a transmission from the Proxima Centauri system. It's from Kathara. The blue-skinned alien appeared on the main screen, speaking from what looked like the bridge of a starship. Dr. Bhatti, I have remarkable news. The attack on the fuel depot has triggered something we never expected. 3 more species have declared their independence from the Galactic Council. That's excellent news, Dr. Bhatti replied. But can they defend themselves? That's the beautiful part, Kathara said with something that might have been a smile. They don't need to. The Council is withdrawing forces from their worlds to defend against human attacks. For the first time in centuries, conquered species are being left unguarded. This was exactly what Dr. Bhatti had hoped would happen. By attacking Zephyrian supply lines and outposts, humanity was forcing the aliens to spread their forces thin. Every ship they sent to defend against human raids was a ship that couldn't be used to suppress rebellions. How many species are involved? Now, Dr. Bhatti asked. 12 worlds have declared independence in the last month, Kathara reported, and more are considering it. You humans have done something remarkable. You have shown the galaxy that the Galactic Council can be defeated. The transmission ended, leaving Dr. Bhatti alone with his thoughts. The war was going better than he had dared hope, but he knew the real challenge was still coming. The aliens had committed only a fraction of their total forces to conquering Earth. When they realized how serious the threat was, they would bring everything they had. In the Galactic Council chambers, that realization was just beginning to dawn. The High Chancellor stood before the assembled representatives of 200 species, and for the first time in his long life, he looked worried. The situation in the Terra 3 system has become complicated, he announced. What began as a simple conquest has evolved into a general rebellion across the Outer Rim. A delegate from the Vegan system stood up. How is this possible? One primitive world should not be able to threaten our entire empire. The humans are no longer primitive, the High Chancellor admitted. In 1 year, they have advanced from chemical rockets to faster-than-light travel. Their military technology now surpasses our own in several areas. Shocked murmurs filled the chamber. The idea that any species could advance so quickly was almost incomprehensible. What do you propose? We do, asked another delegate. The High Chancellor's answer sent a chill through the assembly. Full mobilization. We are recalling fleets from all conquered worlds. Every available ship, every trained crew, every weapon in our arsenal will be deployed to the Terra system. You're talking about the largest military operation in Council history, observed a delegate. Yes, because if we don't stop the humans now, our empire will fall. On Earth, human sensors detected the massive fleet movement immediately. Dr. Bhatti stared at the tactical display showing thousands of alien ships converging on their solar system. How long until they arrive? He asked. 6 months, replied Dr. Chen. Maybe less. Dr. Bhatti nodded calmly. He had been expecting this. The aliens were finally going to commit their full strength to destroying humanity. It would be the largest space battle in galactic history. Send a message to all human forces, he ordered. It's time to come home. Around the galaxy, human strike teams received the recall order. Captain Martinez and her squadron abandoned their raid on a Zephyrian communications hub and jumped to hyperspace. In the Vega system, a human intelligence team finished downloading classified Council military plans and prepared for extraction. Near the galactic core, a human reconnaissance mission completed its survey of Council shipyards and began the long journey back to Earth. But they weren't returning empty-handed. Every human ship carried stolen technology, captured weapons, and detailed intelligence about alien capabilities. Most importantly, they carried something the aliens couldn't understand: confidence. Sir, Dr. Chen reported, we're receiving messages from 47 different species. They're offering to send ships to help defend Earth. Dr. Bhatti was amazed. 47 species want to help us? Yes, sir. Apparently word has spread about what we're doing. Species that have been enslaved for centuries are willing to risk everything for a chance at freedom. On the tactical display, new contacts began appearing. Ships from dozens of different worlds were jumping into the Sol system. They came in all shapes and sizes, representing technologies and designs from across the galaxy. But they all had one thing in common. They were here to fight alongside humanity. Commander Vextar watched the alien ships arriving to support Earth, and he finally understood the magnitude of his mistake. The humans had not just resisted conquest, they had inspired a galactic revolution. Sir, his aide reported, the Council is demanding a full briefing on how this situation developed. They want to know how a single primitive world became the center of a galaxy-wide rebellion. Vextar looked down at the blue planet that had become his nightmare. Tell the Council that we made an error in our initial assessment. The humans are not primitive. They are something we have never encountered before. What are they, sir? Vextar was quiet for a long moment, watching human and alien ships patrol together around Earth. They are what happens when a species spends its entire evolutionary history learning how to fight. They are warriors who don't know how to surrender. The final battle was coming. The largest fleet ever assembled was heading toward Earth, determined to crush the rebellion once and for all. But waiting for them was something the galaxy had never seen before, a species that had turned warfare itself into an art form, and they had just spent a year teaching that art to every oppressed civilization in the galaxy. The largest fleet in galactic history dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Sol system. Thousands of Zephyrian warships spread across space like a dark cloud, their weapons powered and ready for the final battle. Commander Vextar stood on the bridge of the flagship looking at the tactical display. Earth was still there, that small blue world that had caused so much trouble. But it was no longer alone. Sir, I count over 3,000 ships defending the human system, his sensor operator reported. Most of them are not human designs. Vextar studied the defensive formations. Ships from dozens of species had gathered around Earth. Some were ancient vessels that looked like they had been in storage for centuries. Others were sleek, modern designs that he didn't recognize at all. The humans have built an alliance, observed. No single species has ever managed to unite so many different worlds. His intelligence officer nodded grimly. Sir, we have identified representatives from every major rebellion in Council history. Species that we defeated decades ago have somehow rebuilt their fleets. And sir, there's something else. What? The human ships. They're not just improved versions of our technology anymore. Some of these designs are completely new. Our computers can't even identify how they work. On Earth, Dr. Bhatti stood in the primary command center, now expanded into a vast cavern beneath the Himalayas. Holographic displays showed the disposition of both fleets, and the odds were not encouraging. The aliens still outnumbered the combined human and allied forces by 3-1. All ships report ready for battle, announced Captain Martinez from the bridge of her flagship. Human, allied, and hybrid squadrons are in position. Dr. Bhatti activated the communication system that would broadcast to every ship in the defensive fleet. Representatives from 47 species would hear his words, translated into their native languages by alien defectors who had joined the human cause. Friends and allies, Dr. Bhatti began. Today we face the largest military force ever assembled. The Galactic Council has brought every ship, every weapon, every soldier they have to destroy our worlds and crush our rebellion. He paused, looking around the command center at humans and aliens working side by side. They expect us to be afraid. They expect us to surrender when we see their overwhelming numbers. They have conquered hundreds of worlds using fear and superior technology. But they have made one critical mistake. On the tactical display, the Zephyrian fleet was beginning to move toward Earth, confident in their victory. They still think this is a conquest, Dr. Bhatti continued. They think they are facing primitive rebels who got lucky for a while. They don't understand what they are really fighting. The communication channel was silent as thousands of crews waited for his next words. We are not just another species. They can intimidate and destroy. We are the descendants of survivors. Every human alive today comes from ancestors who faced impossible odds and refused to give up. Our entire evolutionary history is a story of adaptation, innovation, and survival. Dr. Bhatti gestured to the alien representatives in the command center. And our allies are not just rebels seeking revenge. They are species that have learned from our example. They have remembered what it means to fight for freedom instead of just existing under oppression. The Zephyrian fleet was now halfway to Earth, their plasma cannons charging for the opening bombardment. Today we show the galaxy what happens when predators finally meet their match, Dr. Bhatti concluded. Today we show them what we really are. The battle began when the first Zephyrian plasma beam struck a human shield generator. The massive installation absorbed the energy and converted it into power for Earth's orbital defense platforms. Instead of destroying human defenses, the alien attack had just made them stronger. Return fire, ordered Captain Martinez. All human squadrons engage at will. The human fleet moved like a pack of wolves, fast and coordinated. Their ships didn't try to match the aliens in firepower. Instead, they used speed and tactics, striking weak points and disappearing before the enemy could respond. But the real surprise came from the allied species. Ships that the Zephyrians had dismissed as obsolete began demonstrating capabilities that their former masters had never suspected. A squadron of vessels from the vegan system suddenly split apart, revealing that each ship was actually 3 smaller craft connected together. The individual fighters swarmed around Zephyrian cruisers like angry wasps, too small and fast to target effectively. Ancient warships from the Proxima system activated cloaking devices that should have been impossible. With their technology, they appeared behind enemy lines, struck with devastating precision and vanished again before the aliens could respond. How are they doing this? Demanded Vextar, as his tactical display showed Zephyrian ships being destroyed across the battlefield. These are species we conquered centuries ago. Their technology was primitive. Sir, his intelligence officer reported with something like fear in his voice. I think they were hiding their true capabilities all along. They let us believe we had defeated them, while secretly maintaining and improving their military technology. The battle raged for hours. The Zephyrian fleet's superior numbers should have given them an easy victory, but instead, they found themselves fighting an enemy that seemed to anticipate their every move. Human ships demonstrated impossible maneuvers, using physics principles that shouldn't have worked with their apparent technology. Allied vessels revealed hidden weapons and capabilities that caught the aliens completely off guard. Most disturbing of all, the enemy forces were coordinating their actions with a precision that suggested a single controlling intelligence. Sir, we need to withdraw, Vextar's tactical officer advised. We've lost 60% of our fleet. At this rate, we'll be completely destroyed within the next 2 hours. Vextar stared at the tactical display in disbelief. The greatest military force in galactic history was being systematically dismantled by an alliance of species they had dismissed as primitive rebels. Sir, incoming transmission from the human command ship, his communications officer reported. Put it on screen. Dr. Bhatti appeared on the main display, speaking from what looked like a warship's bridge. Behind him, humans and aliens worked together at control stations. Commander Vextar, Dr. Bhatti said calmly, I believe we need to talk. You want to negotiate our surrender? Vextar asked hopefully. Dr. Bhatti smiled, but it was not a pleasant expression. No, Commander. I want to explain what just happened to you. The view behind Dr. Bhatti changed to show a tactical analysis of the battle. Ship movements, weapon effectiveness, casualty reports, all displayed with ruthless efficiency. For the past year you have been fighting what you thought was a defensive war, Dr. Bhatti continued. You believed you were facing desperate rebels trying to protect their homes. You were wrong. The tactical display showed the true scope of the human strategy. Every raid, every attack, every seemingly defensive action had been part of a larger plan. We have been studying you, Dr. Bhatti explained. Every time you adapted to our tactics, we learned something new about your capabilities and limitations. Every ship you sent against us provided more intelligence about your technology and psychology. Vextar realized with growing horror that the humans had been using the entire war as a learning experience. You were never conquering us, Dr. Bhatti said. We were conquering you. We just did it so gradually that you never noticed. The communication ended, leaving Vextar alone with the terrible truth. The humans had not just defeated the Galactic Council's fleet. They had orchestrated the entire conflict to expose the weaknesses of every species in the Council. Within days, rebellions erupted on dozens of worlds. Species that had been quietly oppressed for centuries suddenly revealed advanced military capabilities that they had hidden for generations. The Galactic Council found itself fighting simultaneous wars across the entire galaxy. The Solar Accords were signed 6 months later. The document established humanity as an independent member of the galactic community, with Earth serving as the capital of a new alliance of free worlds. Dr. Bhatti stood in the same chamber where the Galactic Council had once planned the conquest of Earth. Now it was the headquarters of the Terran Federation, an organization dedicated to protecting the rights of all sentient species. The Council has agreed to our terms, reported Cathara, who now served as the Federation's first alien ambassador. All conquered worlds will be granted independence. All species will have the right to self-determination. And the practice of forced conquest is officially banned. Dr. Bhatti nodded, looking out at the stars through the chamber's transparent walls. What about the Zephyrians? What will happen to them? They will be allowed to keep their original worlds, Cathara replied. But they will no longer be permitted to expand through conquest. They must learn to exist peacefully with their neighbors. Dr. Bhatti made a final entry in his personal log, summarizing the war that had changed the galaxy forever. The aliens made a fundamental error in their assessment of humanity. They saw our conflicts and assumed we were weak. They saw our primitive technology and assumed we were helpless. They saw our divided nations and assumed we could not cooperate.